In a democracy, your voice is supposed to matter, right? But what if the government can't really hear what we're all saying? Today, we're going to dig into something called the paradox of public opinion.
It seems like it should be a simple question. I mean, in a democracy, the government works for us, the people. But how in the world do they know what we actually want? Well, the answer is it is surprisingly incredibly difficult to figure out.
And to really understand why it's so complicated, we have to start with the most basic question of all. What even is public opinion?
Okay, let's break this down. Think of it in two parts. First, there's you. You have your own beliefs, your own attitudes about everything. That's the individual piece of the puzzle. But then there's the collective part. What happens when you blend your views with the views of millions and millions of other people? That's when things start to get really interesting.
And this right here, this is the heart of the paradox. When we put all of our voices together, do we get this beautiful, coherent signal of what the people want? Or do we just get a whole lot of chaotic, messy noise? All right, so let's explore the first side of this debate, the more pessimistic view. And it all starts with a kind of troubling idea, the uninformed citizen.
Now, this view is a little unsettling, not gonna lie. It basically suggests that most of us, myself included, probably don't have the time or the deep expertise to form really solid opinions on super complex issues, like monetary policy or foreign trade agreements. So the question becomes, are we really equipped to be guiding our leaders on this stuff? And some of the data seems to back this up. Take a look at this chart from Pew Research. It shows that, yeah, a lot of us can name the Speaker of the House, but look how quickly that knowledge drops off for other really important political facts. It raises a pretty serious question, right? How can we have informed opinions if we don't always know the basics? And here's the kicker. This isn't a new problem. This isn't because of social media or the 24-hour news cycle. These knowledge gaps have been around for decades. So if we're not all experts, how can our collective voice possibly be a reliable guide? Okay, that's a pretty grim outlook, but don't worry, because there is a completely different and much more optimistic way to think about public opinion. This slide really just lays out the difference perfectly. The pessimistic view says you basically need a PhD in policy to have a valid opinion. But the optimistic view? It says no. No, regular people have clever ways to form meaningful opinions without knowing every single detail. So, how do we do it? How do we form opinions without being total experts? Well, we use mental shortcuts. We use what you could call gut rationality. That's just drawing on our own life experiences. It's that feeling when a new policy proposal just doesn't sit right because of what you've seen in your own life. We also listen to friends and family we trust. And of course, a big one is using our political party as a cue. It's actually a pretty smart way to navigate a really complex world.
And all this leads us to a really fascinating idea that might just solve this whole paradox. It's called the wisdom of crowds.
Two political scientists, Page and Shapiro, put it perfectly. They said that even if our individual opinions are a little inconsistent, a little messy, when you put them all together, we can be surprisingly rational as a group. Okay, here's the aha moment. It's kind of like that old guessing game. How many jelly beans are in the jar? Your guess might be way off. My guess might be way off. But the amazing thing is, if you average 1,000 different guesses, the final answer gets incredibly close to the real number. The idea is that the same thing happens with public opinion. All of our individual errors and biases tend to cancel each other out, and what's left is a clear, rational signal. So, we've got these two competing stories, right? The uninformed citizen versus the wise crowd. But this isn't just some abstract academic debate. This is huge, real-world consequences.
Look, the stakes couldn't be higher. A representative democracy simply cannot work if our leaders don't have a reliable way of knowing what we, the people, want. If you believe public opinion is just noise, well then ignoring it isn't a big deal. But if you believe in the wisdom of crowds, then listening to the people is the absolute bedrock of a healthy democracy.
So we're left with this massive question. Is our collective voice a source of real wisdom, or is it just loud? The answer we choose, and the one our leaders choose, has the power to define our entire democracy. What do you think?